Hello and welcome to our October 3rd Tuesday at 3 series event, Don't Do IT Alone. I'm Alan Falcon, CEO of Cumulus Global. I want to thank you for taking time to join us here today. I apologize that for the originally scheduled live event, we had some serious audio problems with our web management system. And so with the casting system, so we're just doing the recording here. We'll get that posted and this has been sent out to you. So again, I apologize for that inconvenience. And what I want to do is really just jump right in and get to the content because that's really why you're here. First of all, a reminder that this is one of a number of resources we have. Check out the resource center on our website. We've got things to read, to watch, and ways you can explore your questions in depth. If you've got a question, you're looking for information, you're not finding a resource that covers it, reach out, talk to one of our cloud advisors. We'll help you with the research and get the information you need so that you can make decisions and move forward with your IT planning, IT services, and IT solutions. That said, and the welcome's out of the way, let's dive right in. And this session is really focused on very small businesses. Some define that as fewer than 10 or 20 employees, others 5 or 3. But we're definitely also including sole practitioners and solopreneurs in the mix here. And the reason we want to do this today is that you have, as a sole practitioner, a very small business, some really unique challenges. And it comes from a number of directions. First and foremost, actually over 80% of IT service providers do not want clients with fewer than 20 employees. And over 90%, some estimates as high as 94% based on industry surveys, don't want clients with under 10 employees. So in some respects, you're not, if you're a solopreneur, a sole practitioner, and you've got fewer than 10 employees, the vast majority of IT service companies don't see you as a good client. And why? Your IT environment is different than it is for larger businesses. The reality is you don't have the same infrastructure. If you're a sole practitioner, your chances are you're working off your laptop or desktop computer. Maybe you're in a co-working space or have a small office or a home office. Chances are you don't have the network infrastructure that a larger business would have. Yes, you've got your cable modem that connects you. You may even have a secondary router, although that's highly unusual, and a wireless network or some physical connections. Your printer could be wireless or connected by USB. You plug it in when you're at your desk. Very different than a larger business that's going to have firewalls, routers, potentially multiple levels of switches, access points, network segmentation that separates voice and data, a lot more complexity. So most IT service providers are staffed and have the overhead to deal with that complexity, not just the network, but on-premise servers, database services. As a sole practitioner or a very small business, chances are you're highly in the cloud. You're not running a database server. Your applications that use databases are offered as SaaS or they're running in a cloud environment. And for that reason, a lot of IT service providers carrying that overhead and that expertise for environments you don't have, all of that adds up to cost structure that makes them feel that as a client, as much as they'd like to help you, it's just not economically feasible to do so. And we'll talk about the type of IT providers that are out there that do want your business and are structured in a way that they can do so in a way that's good for their business and really good for you as well. Some other things that are sort of unique to very small business and sole practitioners, solopreneurs, is the requirements you face. Because even though your environment's different and you're a small business, you still need to meet the security requirements. And when I talk about security requirements, you're being approached at different angles here, or different security vectors, as we like to say. Government regulations. You might be a sole practitioner. You still need to, depending on the industry you're in or the industry you serve, you still need to adhere to government regulations. And that could be if you work with medical offices or service them, it could be HIPAA information, depending on your role. It could be rules related to Security Exchange Commission that your client is under. Most states now are rolling out personal information or personally identifiable information data security. You've got California with a major Consumer Data Protection Act and Privacy Act that mirrors GDPR in the EU even. And all of that is sort of government regulation on how you need to keep certain information private and things you need to have in place to protect it. Then there's the industry regulations. If you're involved or consulting to financial institutions or broker dealers, they've got industry regulations like PCI, DC, DSS, FINRA, for registered financial advisors, CPAs who represent to the IRS that have industry standards. In fact, CPAs, legal firms, those industry associations like the Bar Association and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants have ethical standards for the treatment of data. And if your work with those industries, whether you're in that industry yourself or whether you're a service organization that serves those industries, if you have access to your clients' data in those industries, they're going to want you held to the same standard they are for protecting their information and their clients' information. The other place we see a lot of demand for security on solo practitioners and solopreneurs and other very small businesses really comes from your clients. And again, this can be reflected because they have security standards that they want or need to meet, and they impose those on you, saying, hey, if you're not secure enough, we're not going to give you access to our data to do your work. We're not going to give you a login on our network or into our system that you might need. We're not going to allow our people to share with you. So here you are, a small business, and you're being mandated or contractually obliged or industry regulation or best practice guidance to adhere to security standards that are generally designed for larger, more complex organizations. But if you want access to the data, if you want to be able to serve those clients, you're going to need to have those in place. The other end of the spectrum, you need your IT services to be affordable. And for many very small businesses, the imposition of security requirements can be a significant financial burden, especially if they're not well analyzed, thought out, and implemented. So with that in mind, we want to look for solutions that meet the requirements of government regulations, industry standards, and your client contractual obligations in an affordable way, but also in a way that doesn't interfere with your productivity, that allows you to work productively, to serve your clients and meet those needs. And so let's talk about your environment. For you as a very small business or solo person in business, your devices are actually more critical than they are for large organizations. Why? You don't have an IT team and resources that can swap out machines or do quick repairs or reimage a system and get you up and running. You're really dependent on your laptop and your desktop and your smartphone. You may also have a tablet. Those devices, which you feel are personal, or it may even been bought personally before you started your business or went out on your own, are critical. If those devices become unavailable, if you can't access the applications, the information and the services you need, whether that's email or a line of business application or a financial system for bookkeeping, all of that comes into play. If you can't use your devices to get to those services and you don't have an alternate way of doing it, you're effectively unable to serve your clients and run your business. And so you think about something like your laptop having the screen fail or a disk drive fail, not even due to dropping it or a spill, just sometimes these things happen. Taking that in to get it fixed or replaced, you're talking potentially 3 to 5 days without your device. That's how dependent you are on them. Same thing with your applications. And it's not just your productivity applications, whether it's Microsoft 365 in the Office suite or Google Workspace. It's QuickBooks or whatever tool you're using for your accounting and your invoicing. It's any specific line of business applications that you use for analysis or serving your clients or processing their data. It all comes into play. You're highly dependent on those. And chances are most of those at this point are running in a cloud environment, software as a service, or in a hosted cloud environment, although you may still have some run locally on your device. If that's the case, we'll talk about protecting the device as well. And finally, access is critical to your environment. You need access to internet, and chances are you're going to have some access to client systems and data. Now, accessing client systems and data introduces some additional responsibility and potential liabilities. Again, I've already talked about how your clients will ask you or need you to be held to their standards for data security, data protection, and privacy. So with that in mind, you want to start, the goal here is you want your IT solutions to be productive, secure, and still be affordable. And so with that in mind, we often tell people to think carefully about picking your productivity suite. And you're not going to, and here, I know some folks use Zoho and are happy with it. But it's for most organizations, it's Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace. And I'll talk a little bit about it. I'm not going to go into all the detail comparison. We have tools that can help you really analyze. But they are two services that offer compatible breadth of capabilities. Now, Google Workspace is sort of cloud first and foremost. It assumes you're going to work in the cloud and you want everything in the cloud. So it's really good if all of your tools are cloud-based and you can tap in to the identity management that's built into Google for security, and there's integration between those tools and Google Drive for file storage, etc. But effectively, a lot of the things you might do outside of the core Google Workspace functionality are going to be third-party. Microsoft 365 prefers a hybrid environment. They sort of really expect, if you're going to use it in a meaningful way, if you want the full capability of Office and Excel and PowerPoint, for example, you need to be running the desktop applications. And those integrate with the storage, MyDrive, and SharePoint file storage and Teams really well. It's sort of designed for that. Microsoft also, in their Office suites, include a broader range of apps. So many versions of Microsoft 365, for example, include simple project planners, where in Google Workspace, you would need a third-party tool for that. Google's added more scheduling capabilities. Microsoft has some more advanced ones. It depends on the need of your business. It's really, for you personally, where's your comfort zone and sort of how you view your technology and where you want to be. The real considerations beyond what I've talked about are really about your personal preferences and comfort balanced with your client's expectations. And I talk about it this way because we have companies we work with. They love and they live in Google Workspace, and that's great. But 100%, I talked to one last week, 100% of their clients are using Microsoft 365. And so this client will need to convert data out of Google Sheets into Excel, for example, before sharing. And when they do that, they need to make sure the formatting and the look and the feel and the functions still work. So the majority of their staff still have Office apps for business on the desktop. They're still running local versions of Excel, PowerPoint, and Word in order to make sure that when they're done with their work and all their internal sharing and collaboration, that it's in a file format and a structure that's good to their clients. Now, you can argue that for them, it might make sense. Why don't you switch? Why don't you just work in those applications and avoid the translation and the headaches and the tracking that comes with it? They've thought about it, but they really do like the style of collaboration and sort of the web-based, web-native, cloud-forward type of attitude and positioning of Google Workspace. So when we talk about it, your productivity suite, it's what's your comfort zone? What are your personal preferences and comfort? And what are those of your clients, and how do you want to balance those? It also comes into what other apps and integrations you need. So, for example, if you have line of business systems or you're interacting with systems that run off SQL Server on the back end as the data management and as the database, then the Microsoft 365 environment is built-in tools like Power BI that can access that data and generate dashboards, or that integrate well. If you're running tools that can generate Excel spreadsheets or output things into the Microsoft Office apps, it might be a tighter fit. Similarly, if you're running tools that are cloud-based that provide integration with Google Drive and shared drives, that's a deciding factor as well. Identity and security is important. Google and Microsoft have slightly different approaches to how the security works and the complexity of it, as well as that information sharing, which is not just format, but how the external sharing permissions and how those function in each of the environments and how those work for you. And if you're servicing other businesses or even consumers or individuals, how your clients have access to that information works. So all of those come into consideration. Again, we have tools and methods. If you're thinking that you're off on the wrong suite, or you're repicking your suite or reassessing, we can help you with that. Now, once you have that, that's the productivity piece. Now we get into security. And our trademarked security CPR model and offerings really divide security in a way that we try to make it simple. First is communicate and educate. Now, for larger organizations, this really comes around security awareness. And you may actually have clients that require you to do security awareness training. Now, I know it's a little weird saying, "Oh my goodness, I'm a single person. How am I going to do that security awareness training?" There's an app for that that'll do it and show that you've tracked it, and you can show to your clients or show to regulators that you've in fact done that. But it's really, as a sole practitioner, you need to be aware of your security requirements. You need to understand the risks and what you need to do to prevent a cyber attack or a cyber breach of your data, or however you access client data and potentially client systems. The P in the model is protect and prevent. And this is where you get into the technology and the policies that keep bad things from happening, hopefully. Although I will remind you, no protection or prevention is perfect. But this is where we get into basic things like multi-factor authentication to prevent identity theft or even compromised accounts, should that happen, from being able to be used. Having enhanced email threat protection, going beyond the basic spam and virus scanning built into Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. Um, Both Microsoft 365 is a whole product suite of email threat protection add-ons above and beyond what's included in the basic Microsoft 365 packages to address those needs. In Google, they do have in the enterprise SKU some more advanced tools, and it's very common in both environments even to pick third-party tools. So, for example, we work with a third party. One of our advanced email threat protection services is unique in that it actually scans and processes QR codes using computer vision to make sure embedded QR codes haven't been switched to malicious landing pages and URLs. It'll also check the images, do a video analysis of images, particularly when what looks like text in an email is actually an image, is a way of an attacker trying to circumvent normal antivirus, anti-phishing mechanisms. So there are better tools out there that can provide protection. The other component of protect and prevent at a very basic level is endpoint protection. If something bad does land on your computer and it starts to run, is there a system or a tool in place that will identify that as a bad behavior, as a risk, as a problem, stop it, and hopefully roll it back to the computer to a state where it wasn't infected, and then alert you to the fact that you have a problem going on that needs to be taken care of. The R is recovery and respond. This is what you do when, it's not if, it's when a cyber attack is going to be successful in your environment. And at the very basic, it gets up to backup and recovery. Can you get your data back from before an encryption attack rather than paying the ransom and hoping it works? And also, what do you have in place with respect to cyber insurance so that should something happen, you have the funds and, even more importantly, the resources available to address the attack, both from a technical standpoint, a client and vendor relationship standpoint, and a legal and reporting standpoint as well, because there are requirements for certain types of attacks that these get reported, more so within specific industries as well. And so those are the basics that you need for security. Now, your security needs as a solopreneur, sole practitioner, are very small. I've talked about the different compliance considerations, that come from regulation or come from industry and contractual obligations like SOC 2, or do you adhere to and are you compliant with a national standard for security, such as the Center for Internet Security, or CIS's critical security controls specifications. There are a number of them. And again, we can help you analyze what those are and see how well you meet it, so you can make decisions on where you may or may not need or want to invest to be compliant. As I said, we're working with a small business now. They're a handful of people, yet given the business they're in, they have relationships with banks, some of the large banks. And so lo and behold, they sign a contract. They're working with a bank to provide services through which they're going to provide services to our client's going to provide services to their customers and clients. And 3 months into the relationship, the bank says, "Hey, glad to have you on board as a partner. here's our security, questionnaire that was in the contract and the requirements. Please confirm that you're doing all of these things. And it caught them, the extent of it caught them off guard. They've got the basics in place, but this is a national bank with a multinational presence. They think in big organization requirements, they've got things in there that sole practitioners in a 5-person company is not going to think that they need for security. Contractually now, though, it has to be there. So we want to cover those. Another aspect is a very small business is your continuity. Now, big businesses have up rollover data centers and backup servers and backup equipment. That's great. What does it mean for you? It means if the hard disk on your laptop fails, or it gets lost or stolen, or the screen gets cracked and you can't use it, how are you going to continue to run your business and serve your clients without that primary device? If you lose your cell phone, or it gets stolen, or it drops in a puddle, and it's going to take you a day or two to get a new phone or get that phone repaired and replaced and back up, how are you going to answer your two-factor authentication questions so you can get into all of your tools? Where the code's going to go, where the emails, how are you going to access those emails with the codes, if possible, so you can get into the systems and do your work. This is what we talk about with respect to continuity. And there are tools in place that can help with that and that we offer. And on the slide, there's different components of things you should be thinking out that you might need because of the requirements that are coming in. When we talk about continuity, it's about not just recovering the data and the applications that might have been corrupted. It's operating your business while that recovery and repair takes place. And the final thing to consideration for security is your privacy. And this is something that we see a lot. The smaller the business, oftentimes the more common it is. And that is the blurring of your personal environment and your business environment. And why is it important? At a very basic level, if you're a sole practitioner or solopreneur, a very small business, chances are you're giving your cell phone out to people. And what we recommend is that you don't do that. For a couple dollars a month, you can have a cloud-based voice over IP phone service that runs as an app and integrates on your smartphone, whether it's Android or iOS, doesn't care. These services don't care. They work both in great environments, so that you can give out a business line number to your clients and to vendors and other people you work with. Those calls go in through that system. They ring, you answer them on your cell phone like you would any call. The difference is when they go to voicemail, it's your business voicemail. It also means that your personal number stays private. You can set out of office hours and periods where you don't want those phone calls coming through into your personal life, and gives you the ability to sort of set that, not just communications preferences, but that lifestyle separation of work, so that if you're on vacation and told your clients that you're going to have limited access, but you're going to check voicemail once a day, perfectly reasonable thing to do, and you get 20 calls, you don't want your phone ringing 20 times. You want those 20 calls to say, for them to get, hey, it's me, I'm out of the office. There's a reminder I'm on vacation. I'm checking voicemails once a day. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Beep, they go into voicemail without ringing your phone and disrupting you. So you can create the privacy and boundaries with technology like that as well. And we find that in larger organizations, it's really up to the company to decide if they're going to spend the money on you as the employee to do that. It's something we recommend companies do, but again, it's a cost at scale. Oftentimes they're not interested, but as a sole practitioner or very small business where there are only a few of you, that small incremental cost can really help work-life balance, culture, privacy, and protection. And particularly, I won't go into any more detail. You get the picture. I don't need to keep going over it, but there's opportunities there from a security and privacy standpoint as well. So with all of this in mind, some food for thought. In the food for thought is that partnership gives you peace of mind. And oftentimes, growing up, And even as an adult, I'll have people say to me, what price peace of mind? How much is it worth to you to have the peace of mind, to know that your environment's productive, that it's secure, that you meet the requirements you need to legally, and for the industry you're in or the industries you consult into or service, your clients' industries, if you will, that you're meeting those requirements, you're avoiding legal liabilities and problems that can come up that could disrupt your business, your income, your livelihood, and that you're able to meet the contractual obligations you take on when you provide your goods or services to larger corporations who are going to be worried about security and how you're going to handle their information and potentially the information about their customers. So with that complexity, you're not expected to be the IT guru. You shouldn't have to figure it out. And relying on your neighbor's kid or a friend who's in the industry who works at the corporate level, maybe, or in a larger business, doesn't mean you're going to get the advice that's right for your business. So the right partnership is very important. And this is what we focus on when we talk about having services specifically designed for very small businesses, including those of you who are solo. Your focus should be your business. Delivering services to the client and managing the business, yes, and managing IT is a component of it. But again, you're not the IT guru. Now, you could be if you're a technology consultant, but you get the drift here, right? You need to work in the business, you need to work on the business, and you need to do so protecting your time. So taking on the role of being the IT guru, doing all the research, picking the right solutions, implementing them, managing them, dealing with issues that may come up is a time sink, and your time is more valuable. And so that what price peace of mind your business is value, how much is it worth for your business to have the security you need? And what's the impact on your business if you're not making that investment? And I'll remind you that prevention of problems is always better than reaction. Not just, from a, we talk about the cost of disruption and recovery and time to recovery and problems. We talk about the headaches. We talk about, the hard costs and the soft costs. There's also the reputation cost. Okay. I mean, I'm sitting here right now. Look, here I am, a technology company. Our web management system wasn't able to process audio from any audio source connected to our systems here. What does that say? Now, yeah, it's something that was out of our control. But even so, I worry about the reputation. Here I am, the technologist, right? Supposedly the guru, and I'm having a technology problem that disrupted my business. And so here I am recovering from it as well as I talk to you about prevention being better than reaction. And so the food for thought is about, when faced with the costs, and we talk about providing these services affordably to you, but when we talk about facing the costs of the security, of the privacy, of having the right tools for productivity in place, and oftentimes it's you've got your basics in there and it's small incremental costs that feel like they're adding up over time. And yeah, they can add up over time. What's the value to your business to have that taken care of and running smoothly for you, so that you're not spending cycles doing things that can easily be delegated to other people with more expertise who will take the time to learn your business and match what they're recommending to your needs, to your requirements, as well as to your budget. So on that note, this, just being recorded and not live, we won't do any Q&A, but I will say, if you watch this and you have any questions, reach out to us. You can scan the QR code there. That'll bring you to our intro call. It's a no obligation, free call with one of our cloud advisors. We can answer your questions, talk about your concerns, share ideas, and give you options. We can point you to other resources to continue your learning journey as well. And we're happy to do that. We don't expect, because you talk to us, you're going to start spending money with us or expand what you're doing with us. We want to make sure you have the right information, that you're able to make good decisions, and hopefully can, demonstrate that we're a good partner, and that when you're ready to move forward, or when you want to advance, or if you have an issue you need to resolve, you'll trust us and come back to us for guidance and help, and we'll be there for you as well. The best way to reach us is that bit.ly CG intro call or the QR code. send an email to info@cumulus.com or give a call. If you want to reach out to me directly, that's great. Don't call. I should take the number off the screen, actually. I'm horrible about answering the phone and even responding to voicemails. I don't have an assistant, so the email's coming to me. If I can't get to you quickly, I may have someone on my team get back to you, just so that you're not sitting waiting for a response and we can get the conversation started. So definitely, if you have questions or want to chat more about anything I've talked about or want to learn more about our services, let us know and give a call. And on that note, I just want to thank you again. I apologize for not being able to do this live and only sharing it out by recording. But feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you want to discuss anything here I've talked about in a little bit more detail or get a feel for how it applies to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video, do a little bit of learning, and please take advantage of our resource center. And if you're looking for information that's not there, ask us. We're happy to do some research and get things back to you and help you along your knowledge journey as you figure out how technology can best serve you, your business, and your clients. Thanks so much and have a great day.